Hello world, today we're here with Matt Choi. Matt, so glad to have you here, dude.
Dude, I'm pumped, man.
We're making some coffee together today. Matt's a big coffee guy. Actually, I wish we could have panned because he just come running through the park like 10 minutes ago. I'm like, bro, that's Matt over there. He's just running by. Typical Matt Choi.
I told you, I'm gonna get a quick run in before we get this caffeine, baby.
Dude, it was epic. So today, dude, we are going to make a super delicious pumpkin shaken espresso.
Love it.
Yeah, let's go. So what does your daily coffee consist of?
So my daily coffee it's been a long black.
Okay.
So like a lot of the Australians, they have their typical like espresso shot, and then they put like a little bit less water than like an Americano.
Yeah.
So I pretty much just drink that, just like straight up black. I typically don't put much in the coffee, and then if not, I'm a cold brew guy.
Okay, and why is that?
I
Why
like
are you a black coffee guy?
I just like the simplicity of it. I like the fact that I'm just like pretty much just only extracting like the beans, and like there's not really much added sugar or extra milk or any other calories coming from the coffee. So I don't know. I just like when I first got into coffee, like that was just how I drank it. I never really got lattes and like frappuccinos and all the other crazy drinks people get at Starbucks. So a lot of it was simplicity.
Yeah, simplicity.
And I like the bitterness. Like I used to drink a lot of red wine. Like I like the bitterness of like that feeling of like the taste of coffee.
Yeah. Do you ever pair it with anything? Have you tried pairing it with like a little sliver of chocolate? So when I fell in love with coffee, dude, when I went to Peru for the first time, that's where I fell in love with black coffee.
Fair.
Because everywhere you go, they give you just this little chocolate to eat with your cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it elevates the chocolate and it elevates the coffee at the same time.
I can see that.
It's crazy.
I think when I was in London, they do. I mean, you get like little crackers or like different like little treats with your coffee.
Yeah.
But no, I like that chocolate.
Yeah.
I'm gonna add that in.
Yeah. All right. So let's jump into the coffee. So Matt told me he has a Breville at home.
Yes.
Almost the same machine. It's a little bit newer model. This is my old faithful I've had for like 6+ years, dude. She's still going strong. Just keep up with your shit. Take care of your things and they'll last forever.
I love that.
That's a great message, right? So we're gonna make the shot. All right, let's go. So if you have this, so why don't you kind of walk me through, and if I see anything
Correct.
I'll help you out.
All right, easy. Well, you already have your system kind of ready. So obviously for me, I'm just getting the shot pulled here. And the good thing is Al already has all this weighted down. So for a user like me today, I'm just gonna make sure I don't mess it up.
Yeah. So this machine, it'll auto dose for you. All you have to do is adjust the time and the grind size, and it'll come out the perfect amount every time.
This looks like a healthy shot. Look at that. Could make that work.
Do you have a?
I have a push one that's like
So
it's not separate from this one.
That side's just to smooth it out, and the other side's to compress it. Nice.
Boom. Yeah. All right, we're gonna get this set up here. Locked in.
And we're
All right,
going
we'll
with
let our shot.
We're going with the
faithful
little plastic espresso cup today because I totally forgot my glass.
Are we ready to go?
Yeah, let's run it. It's coming out a little fast at the jump, and we may have lost a little bit of coffee.
Yeah.
It's cool. We're not perfectionists around 100%. It's still going to be a damn good shot of espresso.
I will say, even though when I mess up my shots, like, yo, someone's got to drink it still.
Dude, exactly.
You're not throwing it out.
Hey, look at this, dude. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, yo, the 3 levels here.
Yeah, so that's something I told you about.
Yes.
Right? There's 3 levels to the espresso shot. You can see it's dark down here.
Correct.
And it's a little lighter, and you have the crema on top.
Correct.
And this crema, it holds down all the flavor.
Yo, I will say, I don't know if it's just the shot size right now versus what I use, but I feel like I've been having way more crema, like, as I build out my shots. And I don't know if I'm using enough beans or if I'm using too much beans. Typically, that would mean too much beans, no?
I would just experiment. Like I said, measure out how much. Make sure you're getting 18-ish grams out of the grind.
Okay.
And then you can start timing your extraction to see.
So another way I've done it is I've weighed out the beans first. I keep the hopper empty, and I dump all the beans in. I just let it run until, the hopper's empty.
All right, we're not making black coffee. Today we're starting with shaker. You see this at a bar?
Yeah.
Shaken espresso. See this at Starbucks. So we got this here. All we got to do, grab some ice in this cup. See?
That's nice.
Money and just pour it in the shaker. Boom. All right, we got some stevia here.
Liquid stevia.
Liquid stevia.
All right, I'm just doing I'm eyeballing it.
Do like 2 squirts. 1, 2. Maybe give it one more this week. Yeah, money. Okay. And dude, this has no sugar.
Correct.
Okay, we'll get. I think there's like a couple grams of sugar in the Fairlife we're gonna use, but aside from that, drink it's pretty much nothing to it.
Yeah.
You know. All right. Next up, we got some pumpkin pie spice.
Love that.
Get that at a gram.
I'm just going generous here.
Like a teaspoon. Yeah.
Boom.
Money.
And then shot goes in.
Yeah. Then pour the shot into the shaker.
I've been waiting for this moment here, team. Love it. And I'm shaking this first, right?
Yeah. Pop the lid on. Give a nice shake. You want it to just look a light brown, foamy type texture. Yeah, that's good.
Damn, that's like caramelized,
Yeah,
bro.
That's it.
Okay, so now I'm...
All right, now we'll get your glass or your cup to drink from.
Okay. Boom.
Just pour that in there. Ice, everything.
Boom.
Sick. And then I would add just a little bit more ice.
A little more ice. Couple more.
Like that salt. That's good. And then
Sure.
the milk.
Milk.
Yep.
And I'm gonna just... How...
Maybe about, I mean, all we got left room for is about 4 ounces, maybe.
That's good right there. That looks good, dude.
We've done this before.
All right, boom. And then I'm gonna just dabble this on the top a
A little
little
bit
bit.
of pumpkin spice on top.
This is just for the aesthetic, really. Boom.
She's a beauty.
Look at that thing.
Oh.
This ain't no black coffee today.
I got mine here.
All right, buddy.
Let's cheers it up. Let's try these. I want to do your taste test on this then.
It's definitely it's not as bitter as my normal coffee,
Nah,
but it's
but
great.
it's not too sweet.
It's not too sweet either, honestly.
It's got like a little bit of sweetness. What really gives it the flavor is the pumpkin spice. It's literally just seasoned.
It's an Americano with a little stevia and pumpkin. I like it though. I could add this into the routine.
I mean, it's easy to make.
Dude, it's super. I mean,
Difficulty scale, the whole process. What would you say out of 10?
3 out of 10. I mean, it's not anything.
Yeah.
I mean, you just need a shaker bottle and ice.
And this is like 40 calories.
Yeah, I mean, this is great. I mean, yo,
It doesn't taste like 40 calories either. Right?
not at all. And save your $8 at wherever you get coffee from.
100%. But nah, dude, I'm glad you're here, bro. I want to chat with you a little bit.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
Boom.
Welcome to another episode of the Tailgate Coffee Table. Today I'm blessed with Matt Choi's presence. Matt,
I appreciate that.
thank you for being here, dude.
Dude, I'm pumped, man. You guys made my day. I got to wake up and run around Zilker and then grab a cup of coffee with you, man. It's dope.
Hell yeah. And a free cup of not your usual coffee, right?
Not my usual, but
Like-
yeah, I'm drinking this thing.
Like your $8 Austin coffee truck coffee.
Dude, I wouldn't even know, bro, because I never ever make those purchasing decisions.
Yeah,
but
fair enough.
I'm pumped to have this one here today with you.
Fair enough. If you guys don't know Matt, you probably do. You've probably seen him somewhere across the internet running. Like, this dude is a machine. That's one thing that I super respect about this guy, is that not only is he a machine when it comes to his athletic performance, he's a content machine, but he's also a really great, humble guy. I met you, I don't know, 6 or 7 months ago.
Yeah.
We met in a hot tub, just a bunch of bros hanging out in a hot tub.
Classic Austin.
Yeah, dude, and I just instantly knew, just from the level of conversation we had, that you were a very genuine, down-to-earth human being, and so that's why I wanted to have you on the show today.
Dude, I appreciate that. No, I think, especially in this space, man, it's awesome to find other people that are in the space, that are doing similar things in a different industry that you can kind of connect with. And, I think it's one of those things where, like, there's a lot of creators, but there's not a lot that are actually turning it into, like, a business or have done it as long as you have. So for me, like, I'm equally always just trying to be a student, and I obviously, like, there's so much I can learn from other people, and I think we just connected pretty quickly at the ranch, and it was super dope, and I'm super glad to be here, man.
Yeah, it's funny you say always be a student, and that I've been doing this a long time, and still I feel like I don't know what I'm doing, to this day, because I've been doing content creation for over 7 years, and it changes every day. Like, to stay with the times, to keep yourself relevant, and to stay connected to your audience and your personal brand, you have to evolve as time goes on. And that's tough, right? So something that I'm curious about with you, I don't know how long you've been on social media. A few years, right?
Yeah.
And what's been the biggest, I don't know, struggle for you, or what's been the most fun part of learning to grow? Like what has given you the success you found on social media?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I started really making content in like 2020. So it's probably been like a proper like 4 years now of real trial by fire and just kind of testing stuff. And when I first got into it, like it wasn't even running. Like I was doing a lot of football content and a lot of like personal training content, because like that was like the industry that I was in. I think when I started to kind of find my own voice and like where I felt like I started to take off a little bit more was when I started doing my own personal challenges during the pandemic. And that then led me to running. And I think I was like early to the running scene when it came to like where running is now. Like we're at the Mecca, and like I would like to say that like I'm one of the faces that probably started a lot of the creator runners, right? Where like I got inspired by guys like Nick Bear, who were building businesses on top of like YouTube vlogging and all this stuff. But like there weren't as many like just regular humans just documenting their journey of running. And I think now we're at this season of running where like we're not at the tipping point yet, but we're getting close where like, I mean, run clubs are the rave. Like everyone's in the scene, like all these shoe brands, all these products, all these apparel brands are trying to get into that space. And I felt like most of my success came from the fact that I was able to leverage the media and the distribution I built up until that point to then work with some of the biggest apparel brands in the country. And I think in terms of your question of like what maybe made my stuff different, I think we're at a stage now where social, like it's so, everyone has an option to put themselves online. Few people are authentic and genuine when they do that. And I think on my journey, like I was okay showing my L's and showing my failures and showing the wins and successes as well. And kind of riding the wave of all of that. Because I think as humans and as creators, like it's never this linear path of like success or of growth. Like it's always ups and downs. So I think the ability to showcase the vulnerabilities and the losses along the way has always been something I thought about on like, I want to be a type of creator or a type of person that showcases that because it seems more real. So I think that there's some ingredients there. And I mean, dude, I think there's also just like, you put in enough reps and you know this game, like at some point you just build this conviction and confidence that like, damn, I might not be there yet, but like I will in 2 months, in 2 years, in 5 years, whatever. And if you just don't stop, at some point you start to catch some breaks.
Yeah, 100%. And it's funny, right? Because in the moment, it can just feel like you're just doing your thing, you know? But when you look back on, you know, you take a step away and give it some perspective, it's like I was doing all the stuff that I was supposed to do to grow on social media, but I was just enjoying my life and being myself. And that is 1,000%. I've had this conversation with many, many, many people that have found success on social media or in life in general. And the number one thing is just be yourself. And it's so cliche and silly to say, but it's so true. It stands true. It stands the test of time. If you're just yourself, people will respect that. They'll be drawn to that. And not everyone will, but the right people will.
Correct.
Like your people will be drawn to that. And to me, that's what ultimately can lead you to find that success.
Dude, and it's actually the most scalable piece of advice that you can give someone. Because like, even if you were to give me all the tactics on how you were able to grow or all the people that you've met or all the things, like those things can help you along the journey. But like, if you aren't actually being like authentically yourself, like at some point you might just be making content because it's going to go viral. You might just be doing things just to get more views or more vanity metrics. I think to that point, like, that is actually the best piece of advice. And for someone to find that, like, they can make a longer career out of this. Because I think a lot of people now, they see like social and they're like, yo, I need to make a following in 6 months so I can then justify the fact of me leaving my job. Like people put a timeline to this where it's like fitness, man. Like you can't cheat this shit. And I think it's one of those things where I love the fact that I'm in the fitness space and I have a lot of time dedicated into fitness because it's the best analogy for whatever anyone's trying to achieve. Because if you can't see the long-term vision of what you're trying to build or what you're trying to do, or the real reason why someone has the motivation to show up for themselves in their own health journey, like you're not going to be able to replicate that in anything else, whether it's business, relationships, career, whatever, fill in the blank.
Why do you think people get caught up in trying to make it right away? You know, they're like, oh, I have a take. I want to hear your take on it.
I mean, I think there's so many reasons. I think to start is people lack a lot of patience, and they don't, like, most people now get things so quickly because of social, because of the internet. Like, any information we want is fingertips away. So I think people just lack the patience of seeing something through. I think the secondary part of that is that, like, people want to prove to others that they're making it, which then leads into people acting on short-term behavior, which I think a lot of it comes from an insecurity of, like, if you do make the jump in social, everyone at first questions. They're like, why? Like, dude, oh, you're going to be like one of those guys? You're going to be like one of those girls? Like people already have a stigma towards people that are online and putting themselves on the internet. So I think a lot of it, people rush because they want to justify to other people that they are quote-unquote successful or making it, which then leads them to act in a short-term behavior.
That's great. That's really great perspective. Doing it for the wrong reasons is not going to take you where you want to go, and you're going to get caught up. You may find some initial success. You may be able to speed run 100,000 followers.
Correct.
But once you do, and then you hoe yourself out to these brands, and then you tell everyone, hey, I made it, and switch up, next year it's gone. And you see the life cycle of a lot of creators, 1, 2, 3 years, and then they're kind of like irrelevant, or they kind of fell off the face of the earth. And it's just because they did it for the wrong reasons. Like, they had some change. They probably started genuine. They probably started authentic. And then something changed along the lines where they started making money, or they just got caught up in this identity that's not actually themselves. Because I've dealt with the same thing. You know, doing it for so long, you deal with a lot of different scenarios. You know, for the first 4 years of making content, I didn't monetize. I had no idea that social media, you could make a living and make a career out of social media. When I started my page, I was making these recipes while working at Starbucks and just posting them on Facebook, dude. I was posting them on a Facebook group. Then Instagram, someone was like, hey, it's 2017. Instagram is about to be the big thing. Post it on Instagram. So I posted on Instagram. It started gaining some traction. I would repost it on Facebook to all my friends back home, be like, guys, like this, whatever. And then it just gained traction. And so the first 4 years, didn't make any money, didn't try to make any money. And then I had this offer come in from this company, Vital Proteins. And it was life-changing, right? Because I don't come from much. Yeah. And I was in the military. You don't make a lot of money in the military. And I was literally driving DoorDash and Instacart while I had 600,000 followers, right? I just had no clue what the potential was, what was out there. And so I get this offer, and I'm like, holy shit, like this is nuts. Yeah. Now I'm making money from social media, and now these other offers are rolling in, whatever. And I kind of lose my sense of self in the macro barista, because that's like my handle, right? That's who I like identified as for the last like 4.5, 5 years. I wake up one day and I'm like loathing myself. I'm like, dude, like my engagement wasn't doing good that day or that week. And I was like, man, my page is dying. I'm like making it seem like the world is ending. And at that point, I had to take a step back from social media because I was letting it control my life and my happiness. So I took like a month off and I started going to therapy. It had nothing to do with social media, right? It had to do with just stuff I'd been through in life and not being in control of who I was as a person and knowing myself deep enough. So took some time off, came back with a fresh perspective of this is how I want to be on social media. I'm not like emotionally connected to it anymore. I love my audience, and I remember why I started doing this in the first place. And so all that to say, this whole story to say is that doing it long enough, you're going to approach different scenarios with it, within yourself too, because like people put so much emphasis on clout, on following. It gives you, I've been given like loads of free shit at Lululemon just because of my following, and I'm like, bro, this is unreal to me. And if you stay down to earth and intact with who you are at your core, you're gonna make it long term. That's my whole thing.
I think it's like social's one of those spots where like you don't really know what you're getting yourself into until you do it. But I think you said it. You touched on it. It's truly a reflection of how you see yourself. And I think about that often, where it's like, yeah, like when you first start making content, there's not many people following you. Like everyone's like, oh, like if I make a mistake, it's like, you know, most people aren't gonna really see it. You start getting some good traction, and like you obviously, like when you start to grow a little bit, like you think that it's always you're putting up dubs on the board. But at some point, like you're gonna get some pushback. You're gonna maybe make a mistake. You're gonna do something that's gonna be, quote unquote, like wrong or maybe the incorrect move in anything, and people are gonna have opinion about it. And in those moments of getting ridiculed or getting criticism, like how you see yourself internally first is super important. Because if you start believing everything you see online, the praise or the hate, it truly becomes a reflection of like how you see yourself. And you can't allow the opinions of other people to like really dictate that, because dude, at the end of the day, like you're the one living in this body, in this feeling of like, oh my God, I have to show up in a certain way on social. And I think I've been there before where like I've had the criticism and I've had the admiration, but the thing that's been constant is how I see myself. And I think to that point, it's like to have a longevity in this career, like there needs to be enough self-development that you're doing, because if not, it's going to show. And in that story that you said, I'm like, wow, it's like you were able to then reflect on it and be like, yo, I need to develop myself in these certain areas, because if not, I'm going to be vulnerable when I'm not hitting the same amount of views or I'm not getting the validation. I think it's super important for people to understand that.
And that was so good. I think that's kind of a snippet that I haven't really heard or really talked about much. Is you literally said it. I mean, we can chop this for later.
I can't wait for that.
You
one
said
to
have longevity with social media as a career, you have to have strong sense of self and strong self-development throughout the journey. Otherwise, you are going to get lost in the sauce, and you don't want to get lost in the sauce. But man, that was great. So there's a couple things I wanted to ask you. One thing, you post pretty much every day. You post a screenshot of what you're reading.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that. Why do you do that?
I post a page of the Daily Stoic every day. One, because when I first started reading a couple years ago, I had never really read before in college. Like I never really applied myself as a student. I formerly played college football, and like my identity was wrapped in as being a college football player. So like when it came to academics or school or anything else, I kind of just threw it off. Like it wasn't as important. Yeah, I mean, I post the Daily Stoic pretty much every single day, and a lot of it happened because I wasn't the best student in college, and I wanted to challenge myself. I saw this book at a friend's house, and then a different mentor of mine had mentioned Stoicism in general, and I was like, oh, there's like dates on every single page. Like you really only have to read like one page a day. I was like, if I can't hold myself accountable to reading one page a day, and at this time I was like doing 75 hard, and I was like just trying to build different habits and routines, and I just got to the point where I was like, all right, I'm just gonna put my accountabilities. I'm gonna post this on Instagram every single day to hold myself accountable, and then to also allow other people to read it. Like, yo, so many people have messaged me like, yo, I read this book on your story every single day. I didn't get the book. And one, that's dope that like even me sharing a habit or a routine allows someone else to also share that experience. It now has become something I've done for like the past 3 years. And it's funny because a couple months ago I was on Ryan Holiday's podcast, and like a lot of it came from the fact that like I'm a big Stoic fan, and we obviously chatted a ton about that. But I was kind of joking. I'm like, dude, I might have heard some of your book sales just because like now people like don't get the book and they're like they only read off my Instagram. But a lot of that came from me trying to instill the practice of being a student and wanting to work that muscle of reading more, because it was something I truly did lack.
Yeah, I think that's something that I lacked too until I got older. Until I was like, I don't know, 25 or 26. I didn't really read either. And I think that, I don't know, when you first start going into the, like, working on yourself, there's like the book, I feel like there's like the quintessential people and the quintessential books that you kind of find at first, right? I feel like for me, I was like, I found Gary Vee, I found this dude named Grant Cardone. Oh, dude, I'm glad you know who that is.
I'm not the biggest Cardone fan, but
I mean,
yeah.
It was just like, it's that, I think that it's great like I think I found him back in like 2016.
Yeah.
And nowadays it's weird.
Yeah.
But it's like that one dude, Andy Elliott. Have you seen that guy too?
Yeah, of course.
Interesting stuff. The whole self-development space in whole is very interesting to me. It kind of cultivates these like zombies of people that continually will just spend their money and not make the progress that they should be making. They'll be like the 1% that does, and then there'll be the 99% of people that are making these dudes rich, right? But anyways, yeah, so when I first started my whole self-development journey, I have not read the Daily Stoic, any of it, aside from what I've seen on your stories. But I have read Stillness is the Key multiple times, and that's such a great read for me because it just keeps me grounded. It keeps me it's pretty much a book full of stories, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like storytelling is one of the greatest ways to convey a message to somebody and one of the greatest ways to relate to somebody. And that's something, not to make this whole conversation about social media, but storytelling on social media literally is the key to winning. Telling a story, whether that's yourself or something you're doing, is just going to keep people related and connected to who you are, to what that storyline is. Man, I don't know. I feel like I want to ask you about Leadville. You know, I don't want to keep jumping around here, but I am super intrigued. So to give you a quick backstory, I've fucked up hits.
Okay.
I had, when I was 22, I was like quote unquote diagnosed with impingements, severe impingements on both sides, both like the cam and the pincer. So there's like bone spurs on the head of the femur, bone spurs on the outside of this socket, and I had surgery on one side because I used to be a runner. Like, I mean, I have a similar build to you, tall, like a little bit leaner.
Yeah.
And I used to be like a distance runner in high school. And then I pretty much stopped running because once I hit about a mile these days, my hip is just like so flared up. And anyways, I don't know. I love running, but I want to hear about your experience with Leadville. It was your first time doing it, right?
Right.
But you've done other ultras before. This is different. This is through the mountains. And you're changing shoes, you're going through water.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
I mean, Leadville's special. You guys were just out in that area, like Utah, like that Utah, Colorado, man, it's beautiful. Like, it's not a place where I would want to go live, but it's a place I'd spend a lot of time and I'd want to visit. And Leadville's it's a small mining town, 2,000 people. It's 6,000 to 10,000 feet of elevation, and that's kind of what makes this race a little different. Is that you're having to combat altitude while also running 100 miles and climbing mountains. And I think it's special because, like, nowadays it's like the hype is real with Leadville. It's one of the most sought after 100-mile races in the country, but the race itself brings you through so many like peaks and valleys, no different than the course that you're actually on. And I think it's one of those races where it just tests your mental, because like I've ran 100-mile races at sea level and with more elevation gain and climbing. But when you're doing it at altitude at 10,000, like, you don't know how your body's going to respond to altitude. And I think it's one of those things where you can be in great shape, you can be in great fitness, you can have all the nutrition dialed and your team dialed, and there's still so many variables that a course like that can throw at you that you can't really prepare for it. And I think it's like my experience this year was great. I mean, I hit the goal time that I wanted to in sub 25 hours, and I was able to earn that big belt buckle. Yeah. But it was awesome. It was awesome for me to see like my team come together on a single mission, and everyone play their role to the best of their ability, from the media standpoint to the pacers, to the crew. And it was awesome that, like, me having this selfish quest of this 100-mile journey, it was awesome for me to bring on 6-7 other guys to basically be a part of that journey and also see them enjoy the suffering.
Yeah.
Because I always say, the first thing I said to the whole team, I'm like, guys, like, I'm going to be running for 100 miles for 25 to 30 hours, but like, you guys will all be awake for 25 to 30 hours. And when people are tired and they're hungry and they're sleep deprived and they're fatigued, like, it challenges everyone, not just me as the runner. And I really enjoy bringing people on these experiences because I hope that, you know, my Misogi, which is like my year-defining moment, my year-defining thing, it's a Japanese term, which basically is like, Jesse Itzler made this video about like how everyone should have a Misogi once a year, where you do something challenging as hell. You do something that scares you. You do something that freaks you out. And you try to go do it, because if you can, then you're going to be like, yo,
In 2024, I did Leadville 100.
Yeah.
In 2023, I ran across Korea. Like, whatever it is for someone, it doesn't have to always be running, but it could be skydiving. It could be getting married. It could be whatever, fill in the blank. But it was awesome to have that moment and shared with other people that are close to me so they can also experience something like that.
Yeah. And so cool. I watched a lot of, I mean, you were pumping out content.
Dude,
like,
the meeting
it was fucking dope.
It was,
Dude, it was so, I know, you were running, but your team was absolutely crushing it. It was so cool to pretty much watch the entire journey of you running that. And not only you, but there was other people that I know that also ran it and crushed it. I love running. I haven't ran, unfortunately, for a long time just because I would actually be curious to do a mile. You have this series where it's like a mile challenge where he'll get other like influencers or other athletes and
other regular people too.
Just people, and he'll have them give their best in an all-out mile. And I've never done an all-out mile. I was in the Air Force. They do a mile and a half.
Okay.
So my best mile and a half time was 9:17. So which wasn't bad. That's like around a 6-minute mile.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would actually love to do it. I know my hip will probably be fucked, but I would love to just push it one time just to see where I can get.
What do you think you'd hit? Like if you do a number out?
Fuck. I want to break myself. Like I feel like I would really break myself to try and get sub 7 minutes.
Okay, fair.
Like that
it would be a challenge.
I would be fucked up after.
Okay.
And just because there's a point when I'm start running where any type of impact, so it's not just running, any impact activity, where it's just bone on bone in this right hip, that it's just super, super uncomfortable. But I mean, uncomfortable stuff makes us grow, but I'm trying to push out the longevity of my hips till I'm fucking old. So I try to limit impact activity as much as possible. But yeah, I'd be 100% down.
Yeah, let's run.
I'm down.
Let's run that. I love that.
Yeah.
I was actually gonna ask you, so I'm glad that we're on the same page.
Yeah. Oh man, I live right by Austin High School too. I live right down the street.
Easy. Easy.
Man, dude, why running for you too? Like what? Because you've been an athlete since you were a kid, I'm sure, right?
Correct.
So you started with, was it football your primary sport?
Soccer was the first one I started with, and then it was football that kind of became my passion. But why running? I mean, it's a loaded question. I think it's a couple of things. During the pandemic, it was like the one thing that like people could do. Like it was kind of frowned upon still. Like I was living at home at the time, and like I had a couple of, like my neighbors that were like, "You're supposed to be inside," and like I'm like, "Yo, like, bro," I'm like, I gotta get something.
I love it.
But I also think that it was a mix of like Goggins. It was a mix of Itzler. Yeah, like it was just like it was this thought out that like running was something I thought of as like just something I had to do for football, and it was punishment when we got in trouble, right? Like, oh, you guys are like late to study hall or didn't hit your study hall hours. You were doing conditioning. I never thought of running as something that was like a form of solitude, a form of peace, a form of self-development. So I just changed my perception of what running is for me, like the relationship I had with it. And after I started my journey, I just like all these other things started to unpack. My journey as a creator, my journey on self-development. And I just started realizing like, oh, as I got into this hobby, so many other pieces of my life started to show and they started to grow and develop. And I just like, I got obsessed with it. And like one thing led to another where obviously like from a business standpoint and a content standpoint, like the running was like my vehicle to communicate. And I just kind of started to lean in further and just see what I could get out of that. And obviously like from that one lens, people would be like, oh, Matt just did it for business. But like how I was feeling personally and the development that I was getting was exponentially far greater than just the business that I was able to get out of the run. Yeah. So now it's obviously a part of my lifestyle. It's a part of who I am. And I just found a lot of joy in a challenge out of it because it didn't come easy. Like when I first ran, like, dude, running sucks at the beginning. It still sucks now. Like it's not like I enjoy it more now, but like it's still a challenge for me.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I've enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, I mean, fitness is not easy.
Correct.
Even if you're an extremely fit person, it's still not easy.
Correct.
You're still busting your ass. And that's like anything, though. Anything when you're first starting is not easy. It feels weird. You feel awkward. You feel like a fake.
100%. There's all the imposter syndrome happening.
Yeah, and I mean, shit, dude, it never goes away.
Correct.
Like, because unfortunately, there's this, like, you can do your best to not compare yourself to anybody else, and you can look up to people and want to to emulate what they do, but there's always gonna, well, maybe not always, maybe some people are different, but every now and then there's always a little creep that's like, you're not as good as this person, and it's not something that needs to debilitate you and fuck your mental health up, but it's something normal. It's a normal thought to have, and it's a normal thought to process, but you just process it real quick and move forward.
1,000. I actually 100% agree. No matter how confident someone is, no matter how self-aware someone is, there's always that little voice that just is like, what makes you think you're worthy? What makes you think you can do that? And I think like I heard Jay Shetty talk about imposter syndrome, about how like it's actually good. It means that you're stretching yourself. It means you're putting yourself in an environment that is somewhat uncomfortable and you're not as confident in, to allow that level of doubt to creep in, which I think in a way is like super healthy for us as humans, especially people that are looking to grow. It's like, if you're only going to do the one thing that you're so confident in forever, then like you're not really learning more about what you can do or like what your potential truly is. So I think imposter syndrome is not a bad thing at all.
And comfort does not lead to growth. Like that happens to people too. You find success in something and then you become comfortable
100%.
and then you start going stagnant or downhill.
Yeah, and like it's an easy place to remain because it's what you know. And I think for most people, it's actually figuring out like, where is that area where it's like you're teetering on the edge, no different than in the gym, where like you're close to hitting that failed rep. Like getting to that point in life, whether it's business or content or your fitness journey, like figuring out where you're at that point of like you're breaking yourself up to, I'm going to learn something after this rep or after this deal or after whatever it is, fill in the blank. I think that's a super important factor on anyone's journey of growth.
100%. And it's a lifelong thing. It doesn't go away. It doesn't stop once you make it. It doesn't stop once you find the success. It has to continue on, or else you're not going to continue forward.
I think from like what we first talked about, like in this journey, like this is like, I think about investing a lot because like I like investing, and it's like I think about like the assets I put money in. It's always a long-term play. The content journey or any personal branding journey is always a long-term vision. Like you have to steer your boat long enough. You have to be able to. I always say it's a water analogy. You have to be able, whoever can stay in the water the longest will win. But you have to be able to control yourself. You have to be able to understand like when you want to apply energy or when you want to restrain energy. And like whoever can stay in the water the longest typically wins. And so much of that is seeing the long-term vision and making sure that you're making the right chess moves to be around long enough to survive.
100%. Man, this has been sick. It's been a great conversation.
I'm pumped about this.
I know we've had a couple conversations before, and I knew I wanted to chat with you more. But as we wrap things up, dude, I wanted to ask you one thing. This is kind of something I like to ask everybody that I have on the show, and it's something that we don't get asked anymore as adults. We get asked a lot when we're kids, when we're teenagers, in high school, and in college, right? It's like, who do you want to be when you grow up? But I personally don't think we ever stop growing up. And so my question to you is, who do you want to be when you grow up?
Wow. I don't know if it's an actual person. You know, I've really been getting closer with my faith. And I think like as I think about like, it's not that I want to be anybody. Like I want to be closer like in my hierarchy with like anyone, and I'm not spewing any religious beliefs. I think everyone has their own journey of spirituality or any journey of faith. Like I'm always trying to get closer to like love. And in my eyes, it's like God, it's Jesus. Like I want to be a person of love. Like I don't like, and I think in the world that we live in now, it's so easy to spew hate or to spew judgment. Like to me, it's like when I see someone doing dope things or like myself, if I'm trying to do dope things, like I want to just share that. Like I don't want to be like anybody else. Like I just want to be someone that I'm spewing out so much love that like people reciprocate that energy to me. And whether you like me or you hate me, like I want people to have that feeling when they get interacted with me. So it's not necessarily a person. It's just, I want to get closer to love in that sense.
Yeah, dude, I love that. That's pretty much spot on to how I feel. Like literally, I always tell people, I always pre-frame it too. Like this is not a religious take. You know, I'm like, I want to be like Jesus in a sense. I want to love everyone selflessly because that's just such a great way to feel good about yourself, to feel good about other people, and to know that you are being a good human being.
I think it's like especially in Texas, like obviously it's like kind of like the Bible Belt. Like it's the book I'm reading right now is like it's the apprenticeship of Jesus, and a lot of it is around like living like him, not trying to spew the message. Because I think it's so easy now to be like, oh my God, like, are you going to church? Like, are you doing Bible study? Are you doing that? It's so easy to judge someone on like what they're not doing versus how they live every single day, 365. Like, I look at that, I'm like, yo, there's so many people that don't go to church, but they live like Jesus. They are showing love to people that they don't know, to strangers, to people that don't like them. Like, the ability to show love to people that disagree with you is, I think, the highest form of self-expression when it comes to love. It's like, to be able to have compassion for people that disagree, that don't like you, that is like, that's my gauge of like, how much does someone have love inside of them? Yeah. And I think that's a measure. It's easy to do that with people, your friends and family and people that agree with you, but to do that with people that don't, that is a challenge. And for me, I'm still working on that.
Yeah, we all are. Yeah. It's not an easy challenge at all. It's hard to do. But man, I really, really appreciate everything you shared today, especially that last portion. I mean, my goal when it comes to this show is to talk to people that people may already see online. They already may kind of see pieces of you and, you know, feel connected to you in some way. But my goal here is to allow you to share with people a little bit more in depth of who you are and what you believe in. And so everything you said today, I hope has given people more insight into who Matt Choi is. It's definitely given me more insight, and I'm really grateful for the conversation. And man, that's it. I really appreciate you being here today, dude.
I appreciate this new look into this coffee, this coffee as well, because like now I might add this into my routine. Oh, I appreciate that.
Love that, dude. Well, I'm looking forward to the All Out Mile. We're doing that on a schedule, and I'll drop all Matt's socials in the comments and everything. So yeah, dude. Thanks again, Matt.
Thanks for having me, bro.